Hey, this is Ree here. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate everyone. Thank you so much for checking out my website, paradoxastrology.com. I'm a professional astrologer. I can help you with anything. Right now for the holidays, I have a discount $40 off for all our consultations until January 1st. Okay, let's get into this video. Okay, so I just want to talk about the full moon coming up and what we can expect worldwide. And let's get into this. So it's going to be happening on December 7th in Rohini. So the moon and Mars will be in Rohini at that time, conjunct. So this kind of shows us the energy of what's going to happen, and I'm going to explain that. So that means that if the moon is in Rohini, we have the sun in Jejesta, and this could potentially create some conflicts. And let me explain that. So as we know, the full moon is something that's going to be coming into completion. That means that we have Mars and the moon opposing the sun in Jejesta. Now, the moon being in Rohini with Mars, Rohini has to do with the carrier. It's the carrier, the one that bears all the fruit. And it's the fruits of creation. So the symbol for it is the ox or the bull because it carries all the fruits of creation to where it needs to go, like they do in India. That's where it comes from. And it's also bringing all the produce that are harvested to bring it to where it's going. So what I see potentially, there could be problems occurring with the supply chain because Mars is a malefic, right? And Mars and the moon can create some problems sometimes. And it can also make people very emotional, which I'll get into after. Now, there could be problems with supplies. Something has to happen with the supply. Material items that could be with Christmas, with the holidays. It might be harder to get certain things. It's also the drive for indulgence as well. So even though some of these things may not be working properly like they should, it will give people a drive to find a new way as well. So if you stay grounded and you stay optimistic and you stay in your higher self, you'll be able to use this as courage because Mars is courage as well. There could be a push for faster productivity that needs to be done right away to get things done in time for the holidays. I could see that. There could be a lack of or some kind of aggression towards beauty items, luxury items. We've already seen a lot of backlash towards luxury companies recently. We're going to see more of that coming up in the next 2 weeks. It's going to come to a head. Also, there could be a lot of relationship shifts as well. This has to do with relationships. So there could be some people who are very attracted to each other in relationships, and then this is kind of the accumulation of that. Or there could also be problems, aggressiveness. There could be arguments, things like that within relationships that will cause the emotions of others to be angry. There could also be problems with agriculture, getting products, getting anything to do with the ground, harvesting, things like that. There might be a shortage of supply chains or the companies maybe that bring these items forth. There could be also an attack on agriculture as well. I'm going to get in more to that when I talk about the sun, because bringing in the sun means that there's something, the sun is the leaders. That's opposing Mars and the moon. And the moon is the public. Mars could be aggression. So there could be some kind of sanctions or some kind of law that's passed by leaders that most people are not happy with that has to do with agriculture and suppressing agriculture or attacking it in some type of way. This could also be a push for more climate change agendas. We all know it's agenda. And there could be a push for different laws that have to do with climate or the earth. And remember, only a fool thinks they know better than nature. This is going to be in Pada 4. And this is ruled by the moon. So this has to do with home and security. Some people may have to start traveling in order to make money, and maybe they didn't before. That could be maybe your company asked you to not work from home anymore. That could definitely be a thing. Or some people may have to go out, Mars, and find a different way of making money, and they may have to drive further than expect. Some people will become very excessively narrow-minded and aggressive because of this. Now, if you feel this way, just remember, this too shall pass. Let yourself feel it and let it go. That's the most important thing. People are going to be hoarding unnecessary items. Now, I know there's always this fear out there that we're in lack, right? But we're not in lack. You're creating the lack because everything is a mirror. Stay true to yourself. If something isn't there that you require, there's always something else that you can substitute it with. Stay in that mindset. The potential industries that could be affected by this is farms, ranches. There could be entertainment, banks, institutions, financial institutions, crypto, oil, petro. All of this is being affected right now, especially with Mars being in Rohini till next year. Is going to be continuously affecting this. I'm going to have a whole separate video about Mars and Rohini, and you can check it out after this. It's also going to affect transportation, tourism, the auto industry, clothing, shipping, receiving, packaging, distribution. There's going to be some problems with that, but there's going to be a push to do it in a different way. There's going to be also anything with liquids or aquatic products. So if you're trying to buy something for someone for the holidays or something like that, make sure you get it right away. Make sure you get it as soon as you can. It's not favorable for weddings unless it's a really quick and fast wedding. If it's really quick because you're just attracted to each other, fast doesn't equal long term. That's Saturn. Just be careful of that. There could also be a lot of corruption that has to do with the divine feminine. There could be the abuse of the divine feminine because Rohini is the divine feminine. There could be a domination, wanting a domination of resources, of women, things popping up like that. Some people are going to want to look sexually attractive, more desirable during these times. They will use this time to enhance themselves. So that's a more positive trait. It's also the power of creation. So if you were going through some hard times before this is a good way that you can use this power of creation to actually create what you want. Use Rohini energy and the Mars for the courage to do that. There could also be some kind of laws or some kind of things that have to do with incest. That sounds so weird, but I'm just putting everything out there. Also, be careful of jealousy among peers, jealousy among your friends, you having jealousy towards others, feeling these types of ways. Just be careful of that. On the opposite side, we have the sun. Sun is in Jyesta, and in that nakshatra is about taking responsibility. Now, this is where it kind of gets a little bit darker. The symbol for Rohini is a round talisman. The talisman could have been used back in the day for protection, but a lot of people now, like the ruling elites, use the talisman in order to keep their power. This nakshatra only functions well when it has a high level of consciousness, just like all of them, especially this one. This one I don't feel is going to be used in a very high consciousness. Now, it's about solidifying your authoritative position. So the symbol of it is the coiled snake swallowing its own tail. The serpent is related to Rahu, Ketu, and Kundalini Shakti, which is the power, the female divine power that you have within you, which is Kundalini energy, the Kundalini power. So this could help people have a Kundalini awakening, but this could also be used, this power could be misused. And I think it's going to be misused by the government. It's also used by the government to maintain their secrecy because it's just very secret. It's a very secret nakshatra. Now, there's going to be some concerns over property. Some people may have concerns over property, and this might be activated. The last eclipse that we had in Aries, this may affect it, activate it. So if you check in your chart and you see where that was, where Aries is in your chart, that's what's going to be affected. From this, I see that there could potentially be some problems with material abundance because Jyesta is about material abundance, but it's also about hard times. It's about greedy rulers who can actually destroy agriculture, who can put things in place that will help them. Now, what I'm thinking is that because it has to do with financial institutions and crypto, I think that there may be some laws put in place that the public does not like by the leaders that have to do with the markets and crypto. Perhaps regulation that happens at this time. Remember, whatever leaders come out at this time and decide to put these laws in place, these are leaders who are very secretive. They're leaders who are vain, greedy, and unreliable. So this is not for your best benefit. So that's why I see people being very angry about it with Moon and Mars. It's misuse of power and authority. So they're going to do everything that it takes. Jyesta does everything it can do to get ahead. The leaders that be will do anything they can to get ahead during this period of time. But there will be some that are prosperous, that are genuine, who really actually want to help people, who will use their power to help others. So look out for those people. There's going to be some people rise up with a lot of integrity. Jesta rules Africa. Now, I didn't look into exactly the countries in Africa that it would rule, but I could see something happening in Africa. I know that's very vague, but something happening in Africa to do with laws. Now, this will be in Pada 2, which is ruled by Saturn. In this one, it's authority. It has to do with authority, it has to do with challenging people, and it has to do with selfish gains and materialistic approaches and vengefulness and getting back at others. Now, so just kind of put that in that kind of context of leaders coming out and saying some certain thing about that. Now, the professions, this could involve not just leaders, but it's police officers, government, it's reporters, it's radio and TV, it's news, talk shows, firemen, athletes, telecommunications, surgeons, airports, hospitals, old age homes. So these are the places that could be potentially affected by this energy. Someone in authority will be putting their foot down in a measure that will anger the public about resources, agriculture, and the marketplace. So financial institutions, crypto. So it will not be a good time for traveling during this 2-week period because of the placements. Some may feel depressed during this time too. Just hang on. It's going to go away eventually. The Lord of Jesta is Mercury. So we have to look at what is Mercury doing, what nakshatra is Mercury in. At this time, Mercury is in Mula. So what that means for this, it means authorities will be direct and straight to the root, involving many different hidden themes from the past, and they'll be tying up loose ends and investigations. And that will be into microorganisms, viruses, flus, colds, medicines, making medicines, different medicines, and the constraint and limitation about that. So you can take that in, maybe because of the COVID, people are letting it go. Maybe in some places they'll let go of certain rules or certain structures and then decide that, we got to move on. And some people will probably get to the root of the issue, probably dig up some more dirt on that, and then that could be brought to light. So it's either side, because say if there's no more regulations about COVID, people will be angry about that. If there are more regulations placed on based upon viruses and things like that, or more information based upon viruses, or the distribution of more of the vaxes, people will be angry about that. So it could go either way, but the deity, the goddess of this, is a demon, and it's destruction and dissolution is what it's about. It's the opposite of the goddess of wealth and prosperity. So it's utilizing whatever power is available and necessary. So it's destroying the outdated things. So that's why I said maybe some outdated things that had to do with the virus will be gone. It's also the struggle between individuality and the universal. And then also it's in the third pada, which is ruled by Jupiter, which is against the material aspects of things. So we see kind of a down spiral, which has to do with the material wealth. And the sanctions by the leaders, some kind of information that will be brought out by some types of leaders. And we can see that there's going to be something to do with viruses, something to do with limitation, and these things won't be for the universal. It'll be more for the individual that is making that comes out with these types of things. This government authority, these people in government, these people in police officers, military, things like that, whatever goes on there, it's not going to be the benefit of humanity. I will say that. But I want you to remember that that doesn't matter. I'm just here to predict so that people can get an idea of what's happening, so people can see that astrology is real. But it does not matter what's happening on the outside. You control your individual lives. So don't let this get you in fear or anything like that. Don't let this make you feel any type of way. It does not matter. This is information. Let it go in and let it go out. And everything will be just fine. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you in the next one.